and foundations. She has developed several business systems under business transformation and spearheaded business risk management for operations in multiple countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and Japan. Currently, she runs three businesses, leveraging experience and expertise from these large corporates to help small and medium enterprises across the country over the last decade. As the founder, director, and COO of India SME Accelerator Network, a business growth accelerator for MSMEs in India, she has been catalyzing the growth journey of thousands of MSMEs over the years through digital transformation, access to finance, access to markets, and strategic growth of businesses. So let's embark on this journey of exploration together, diving into the realms of creativity, collaboration, and technological advancements. Over to you, Shalini.
Thank you very much for that rather very generous introduction, I'd say. It's a pleasure coming back and meeting MSMEs on this platform. Thanks a lot to HT Mint and Lenovo partners who made this possible. And you've given me a rather interesting topic, I must say. Fostering innovation in a collaborative IT culture. There's a lot that this topic can actually hold, and I've been given 30 minutes. I'm going to try and do some good justice to this time on hand. Let me just quickly bring up my presentation, please. A quick check. Can you see my screen? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Shalini.
Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to begin the session on fostering innovation in a collaborative IT culture. There are essentially two aspects to this entire topic that we're going to try and drive home today between the SMEs who are present. One part, essentially, which is around innovation. This is a word we all like using, right? Innovation, and it's been doing the buzzword for a very, very long time, not just for large corporates and not just for startups, but the middle segment that is most impacted and is most relevant in making a difference with innovation, that is the small and medium enterprise. If you really look at statistics, and you must have seen a lot on technology that's already happened in the prior session, so deriving from that also, if you notice within the MSME sector, in India in particular, 1 out of 3 MSMEs in India are currently deploying innovation in their business. So that does speak of something. There is something that's working well, and there is something that is yet to do well for MSMEs. So let's try to understand this entire picture on what is innovation that we're talking about. So innovation, apart from the words like robotics, AI, ML, IoT, which sometimes can be a little daunting for MSME owners, let's keep it very simple and try to understand. Innovation is nothing but a product, service, or a business model that is being done in a novel and a useful way. So innovation does not have to be something major. It doesn't have to be a big breakthrough in technology or completely disruptive alone, but it can be as simple as upgrading a company's customer service, upgrading an existing product, upgrading how you operate on your model itself. It can be as simple, and it has multiple layers and levels to it. So in short, innovation is implementing new ideas that are creating value to the business. So on that note, let's try to understand why is this becoming important for MSMEs, and how should MSMEs really leverage this, right? So if you look at innovation in particular from the lens of a small business, it does some fantastic things for an MSME. The first and foremost is a small business needs to, thrive in a large landscape of which is global and getting more and more global. So it allows you to adapt to the trends in the market. It allows you to, be nimble and change as you go along in a dynamic business environment. So it allows adaptability. Second, what it does to small businesses keeps them on the cutting edge with making you more and more competitive to stay ahead of competition, to keep in pace. So SMEs who are OEMs, to large corporates will understand what I'm talking about. So it allows you to, be competitive in the market, both domestically as well as globally. And third important, aspect is definitely it fosters growth. And that's the reason why a business is interested in it at the end of the day, because all that we do has to result in good growth. So this is something that McKinsey has found it through their research. Despite knowing this, and despite the fact that innovation is so important, and all of us realize that, it's found that organizations deprioritize innovation in favor of holding on to core business, and waiting till there is more clarity. Strange, but that is the dichotomy. I mean, that is the issue, because we understand that is important. At the same time, it does somewhere delay the progress, delay the speed of organization when it comes to adopting innovative methods. And I think it's time where we're not talking of either technology or innovation as something good, to do, as something that will make you look better than a competition. But it is the need of the hour. It is a lot more than the need of the hour. It is something. It's as good as oxygen to the body is innovation to a enterprise, especially in the small and medium space. So, given that, it is more and more imperative to start adopting innovation. And that's where, Jack Welch, the CEO of GE, said, change before you have to. It's a question of survival. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, wait a minute, the world is a different place. You no more have a choice. It's a question of survival. So we have to find ways and methods to bring in innovation into the DNA of the organization in a way that it doesn't really, make it a difficult and additional task that one has to take on as a promoter and owner of a growing organization. So at this point, it's really important to understand why is it so difficult for SMEs, and let's understand the real challenges. Yeah, there are several challenges that actually come up in front of a small business when they're trying to be nimble and be flexible with adoption of technology, especially innovation when we talk about. And if I were to ask you, most of you would say, "Oh, it's resources." It's finance. Some of you would say, oh, no, no, I think it's manpower. It's skilled manpower, don't you think? Because we don't have people. We don't have people who understand. And some of you may say, oh, I don't think we have the wherewithal. So here are a few reasons that people really have given. And the reality shows, when you survey small businesses, one of the reality shows that there is a syndrome called the status quo syndrome, where people are more comfortable doing things the way they're doing, and looking at something new, saying, oh, why do I have to change what I'm doing already? If it's working fine, it's been working fine for so many years. Why do I need to bring about a change suddenly now? Chalne do. This kind of a status quo syndrome is something that keeps a lot of businesses going, and that's just one reason they're not, moving a different way. Another set of data points out to the fact where the owner says, I'm technologically challenged. And trust me, this is a very big factor when it comes to innovation. I've seen a lot of enterprises that have actually hired good CTOs, CIOs, and some of you would be here in the participants as well, and you can resonate with what I'm saying. You have enterprises that have kind of tried to build an IT department or IT resource in the company, so to say. Yet they are not able to do justice to the role. They're not able to do justice to the function. They're not able to do enough justice to the investment in their entire function, because the owner promoter is somewhere technologically challenged and is unable to appreciate and visualize what's coming forward with a technological advancement or an innovative idea that is being brought forward. This is very powerful, sad but true. Another area that comes out as data is the fear of unknown, and this I say collectively for an enterprise, not just for the owner, but it's actually the fear of the unknown for the organization as a whole. Saying, "Oh, we don't know how this is going to be. We don't know how this might land up. So why take a chance?" This also leads to the second important point, which data points to, is the fear of failure. By fear of failure, we refer to, enterprises who have burnt their fingers by trying to take on something new, by trying to do something new, and have not succeeded. So typically, it's like, I have made changes, I have gone ahead and done something, it's not worked well for us, we don't want to do this again. So this is a big deterrent to innovation. This is a big deterrent to, doing something different. And if you really look at all these points that we're talking about right now, there is a certain common theme that is emerging from all of this, and it would collectively refer to, what is the mindset of the entrepreneur or the promoter. So collectively, data is suggesting that the biggest hurdle and deterrent to innovation happening in the small and medium enterprise segment as a whole is nothing but the mindset of the entrepreneur, despite several other factors which also exist. But this is emerging as one of the top most. And to help you a little bit on this, I'd like to, give you a comparative parlance. I don't know if some of you here have read the book called The Mindset of a Rocket Scientist. So with ISRO in right in the middle of news and everybody seeing the launch of Chandrayaan 3, etc., if you were to really think about how they function, imagine if they function with this mindset, where would we land? Nowhere close to the moon. So this mindset, it's an interesting book. I suggest you all read. It's by Ozan Barol, author. What it basically says is that if you are to look at the various aspects of, what we deal with as a business entrepreneur, and I'm going to just use four quadrants that are typically used, which is the known known, the known unknown, the unknown known, and the unknown unknown. So if you look at these four quadrants typically, he suggests that we as entrepreneurs, and typically the rocket scientists, operate in the zone of the unknown known, which means we are really operating in a zone where we're saying that we know there is something out there. We don't know enough about it, but we are, heading for it. And that's the power of that entire perspective, which the mindset of an entrepreneur should operate like a rocket scientist. When you do that as an entrepreneur, you're essentially telling your business, you're essentially setting the stage for your business to be able to do things that can change the way you as a business operate, because that mindset is unleashing a lot more by removing the inherent fear from you as an entrepreneur and therefore the culture of the organization. The entire culture of your organization is a reasonable representation of the owner promoter himself or herself. So I would really like urge you to, dwell a little more on this particular aspect, because the mindset of an entrepreneur is extremely powerful. So, with that having said, and Steve Jobs also saying innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. So, who do you want to be is a choice that we need to make when it comes to driving a small and medium enterprise that is really looking for exponential growth, that is really looking to become a mid market enterprise and then a large corporate for the country. So these are some evident benefits of what innovation can do. So innovation, end of the day, drives growth. And in what way? So firstly, innovation is, bringing in new ideas. It's bringing new technology, systems, efficiencies, and processes that are developed and applied and deployed into business. These can result largely into enhanced productivity, which is innovation leading to increased productivity in terms of the tonnage, in terms of the efficiency of the manpower on ground, whether you're in the services sector or whether you're in the manufacturing sector. It develops systems and processes that lead to greater output, so with the same input, and that is where the efficiency comes in, that is where the productivity comes in for a business. And all of this eventually leads into better growth. So your top line is improving when you're deploying successful innovations. So there are more processes and systems which are in place to back up the increased goods and services that you're producing. And it attracts better talent leading to better business at the top line. With an enhanced top line, you're also talking of enhanced bottom line, which is the profitability. So there is a growth in business and of operations, and which is leading to better profitability when it is deployed successfully, deployed systematically, and deployed well. So innovation has multiple facets to it to lead to good growth and profitability. One is, of course, the idea alone, and second is the deployment, and the third is ability to adapt the innovation to what the market needs and what the business needs. So when you do all of these aspects well, then the business growth and profitability become more and more evident. So, with this, let's try to understand what are the various categories of innovation that a business typically guns for or can look towards. So, there are two standard categories that people talk of, and I've just brought that forward here for you. One is the aspect of, so if you look at the graph with performance on one axis and time on the other axis, you have certain innovations that are disruptive, definitely using certain technology and new ways to disrupt the market from where you are, moving into a completely different paradigm of business that you're operating in. And second, category is the one that's called sustaining innovation. So by that, what we mean is leveraging technology and advances to sustain existing markets, existing set of operations that you're doing. You're optimizing, you are improvising, and you're able to deliver more and better. So these are doing two different jobs for you as an enterprise, and the role that they play are distinct. So when we think of innovation, most often we're talking of disruptive innovation. The articles that we tend to read, most often are about disruptive innovation because it's kind of a game changer. It's taking you from one level to another. The other one, which is sustaining innovation, is helping you sustain and continuously staying abreast and updated in the market when it means competing in the marketplaces that are dynamically changing, right? So this is on sustenance. So if somebody is to ask you, where would you put the money and where would you go for innovation if you were to make choices? Most people would talk of disruptive innovation. But I would recommend that you need to do both as an enterprise. It's important to be disruptive. At the same time, it's important to sustain what you're doing good. And you need innovation to sustain what you're doing good because times change, but your solutions cannot remain outdated. So you need a good play of sustaining innovation on one hand and a good play of disruptive innovation coming in time to time within your business so that you are able to have an interplay of both of these for continuous evolution and continuous enhancement and continuous transformation of the enterprise. So I'd really urge CIOs and CTOs here as well as promoters here to try and embed this philosophy well within your business where you're bringing in sustaining innovation as well as disruptive innovation into the very objective of how you are designing your business goals. So when you sit down at the start of the year and set out business goals, how many of you are able to bring this onto the table and put it into the objectives? That could be a defining factor as to how you will deploy innovation into your businesses through the year to achieve your goals and also define newer goals for yourself through the year. So, with that, I think I'd like to move to another important aspect, of innovation leading into the culture of the organization, which is the second part of what we're talking of. So, what do we mean by culture? There's a culture in every organization, so each organization is talking to us in return with its own way, with its own method, so it has a certain personality or DNA of its own, right? So what is the culture of an organization that you possess? So if you really think back and look at it, what is culture? It's essentially nothing but a set of or a collection of values, collection of behaviors, expectations, attitudes, and practices that are really deployed on ground within the organization. So each of your culture is saying something today. So you might need to reassess and see what is the culture of my organization. Some good corporate enterprises at this point of time in the SME segment are also working extensively on the culture of the organization, where not just the human resource team is working on it, but there's also the IT team working on it, right? So I'd urge more and more entrepreneurs to engage on this topic a little more, in depth, so that you're able to define the culture of your organization. And here are a few things you might want to think when you are defining a culture that's going to be suitable for nurturing innovation. Yeah. So typically, the when it comes to IT in a organization culture standpoint, uh, people have typecasted the cultures into four categories. So you can think through and see where do you fit, where is the culture of your organization currently. So the first of the four categories is the one that's called conservative. So in a typical conservative IT culture, what really happens is the top leaders see technology as an expense to minimize, and in turn they have the IT department maximize the use of technology they have. So there is a tech department that's deployed, say, get the utmost value of the technology investments I'm making. So these are organizations that have a conservative IT culture where employees use laptops and desktops for 6 to 10 years continuously without changing them, and they will replace them only when they break. So that's a tendency we've seen. They also, because they want to reduce cost and yet they want to maintain a competitive advantage. So leaders in, or let's say the promoters in a conservative IT culture, focus on creating business efficiency by creating and improving repeatable processes. So where they will try to innovate is say, okay, what is repeating? Let's try to change that and try to bring in efficiency there. So this is the kind of disruption at best that they're able to do within their business, because they're fundamentally conservative in nature, and because they're also very cost conscious. They tend to have systems that are at best, systems and processes and technology at best, that will bring in cost efficiency somewhere and will bring in significant change in profitability. So these are some of the traits that you would notice in a conservative technology culture. You might want to think and be honest with yourself if you are actually slotting out there. Amongst the SMEs that we have spoken to, at least 1,000 of them, we have noticed that close to 70% to 75% sit in this bucket at this point of time, where they are in a conservative IT culture. The second nature and culture, IT culture, that is found is one that's moderate. And we're glad that more and more people have moved into this segment. I would say more since COVID, right? People have moved into this where they're realizing the role of innovation that has to be driven, but they are very conscious of the advantage that is going to come out of this. So while they prioritize cost management, occasionally they will invest in new technology. They will invest in new technology. But with a moderate culture, they will invest in automation only if it reduces, directly if it brings in cost in a short term. So if there is an ROI in the investment of technology, or if there is an ROI in the innovation that they are bringing about in whichever method, they will be very keen to see if the ROI is coming back in a year's time. And that's when they will be willing to make that investment. So they are definitely a moderate in that sense in culture. So you will see a lot of service firms, which industries tend to be moderate are services firms, who will typically tend to sit in this bucket of a moderate IT culture. The next type is the type which is called as aggressive IT culture. So you may want to check yourself on this one if you belong here. So let's see what are some of the characteristics of enterprises that sit in the aggressive IT culture, where they categorize technology spending as a key to moving forward. So they say that we have to invest in technology, we have to invest in latest systems and processes, latest laptops, latest cloud systems, latest AI, that's available in the market that we can deploy, the latest of machine learning available enough, to deploy in our factories, latest software that's available to deploy, whether it's, in quality processes or, on the customer service front. Let's go ahead and deploy. They believe in adding automation which frees up people. So their approach is to say, how can I free up my productivity of people so that they who are doing low value work can now start doing high value work. So I'm optimizing my resources by deploying technology. Although they are, willing to deploy developing technologies and developing systems and newer innovative processes, they will not invest in something purely based on hype or, saying this is the happening thing, so let's go in for it. These are leaders in aggressive IT culture who will investigate technology for what business advantage it will give them, and then they will deploy those technologies and innovative solutions in their business. So to that extent, they are aggressive. At the same time, they are, careful. So definitely they would be interested in looking at the benefit, because they also see technology as an advantage not just for business processes and for keeping it forward in competition. They also see it, justifying the regulatory frameworks, the compliance requirements that are needed to, stay ahead, and therefore they believe in technology and innovation. The last, of course, is the IT culture, which is called the leading edge culture. Characteristics of this, and you can see these companies stand apart. So these are cultures where technology spend is not looked at as a spend, it's looked at as an investment purely, because they understand, they see technology as a business driver, and they see innovation equally as a business driver. So they're less worried about processes optimization, they're less worried about costs, but knowing that they know they will figure it out, how to get it, with time. So they will figure it out with time. They are in that sense extremely aggressive about deploying technology because they see purpose. They see that they're going to become cutting edge. They see a larger vision with the deployment of the innovation and technology we're talking about. So these are set of companies. So who would these companies be? What are the kind of industries where you would see? These are fundamentally, SME enterprises which are tech driven and are, completely based on technology as the backbone to their entire business process. They are the ones who will definitely, go ahead in a cultural mode, which is leading edge IT culture. So, with that, for IT cultures defined, I'd like to come to my favorite, which I call the collaborative culture for innovation. So, this is the culture where technology, people, and processes come together to deliver innovation in a way that is complete value creation for business, which is both disruptive at the same time sustaining. It meets both business goals through the culture. So the interesting question is, yes, I think most of us would want to be, in this kind of an IT culture, which is fostering innovation, which is nurturing innovation in the long run, on both types of innovations, which is sustaining innovation as well as disruptive innovation. So let's try to understand what are the few things that one needs to do to be in this kind of an IT culture. Few simple steps, and we'll go, one by one, things that you need to do as a business owner. The first and foremost for a business owner is to be able to embrace innovation and creativity. What do I mean by this? You need to start looking at innovation and creativity as a catalyst to your business, right? The moment you look at it as a catalyst, it's going to change the entire way you're going to operate in business. It's going to change the way you structure your teams, you structure your organization, you structure your business goals. All of that will change the moment you start looking at innovation and creativity as catalyst for your business. This means that you would need to start not just encouraging your employees to cultivate and come up with new ideas, but you'll have to start building creativity as a competence amongst the people, and you'll have to ensure that you're working towards that as an HR goal. But beyond that, you'll have to start deploying systems and processes which are technology based within your organization. So it is both, in terms of technology, people, and processes. All of them you will have to embrace by making innovation and creativity as a catalyst for growth. And this will have to be in all the functions within the business, be it in sales, in the way you are reaching out to your customers, to how do you market yourselves with the latest uh, technology platforms and social media, to how do you really produce using industry 4.0 benchmarks of smart manufacturing, to going all the way to deploying logistics, that is geo based logistics, to managing your inventory and books of accounts on cloud, and so on and so forth. So this is truly one of the things that one would need to do in terms of embracing innovation and creativity as number one. Number two, I would say, is forming collaborative teams. And to be able to do this, so by collaborative teams, we're talking about having people come across from different, backgrounds into teams that can work together, particularly on innovation. We have seen several SMEs who have deployed you more than R&D teams. You can call them your brain cell. You can call them the think tank within your company. There are different names that people like to give themselves, but this is a set of people from within the company who will sit down, put their brains together, and collaborate to come up with newer ideas. To be able to do this as a business owner and a promoter, you have to enable them with the latest technology to do that. So I do not know how many businesses here are using intranet or collaborative platforms on their laptops and mobile beyond WhatsApp, right? Especially when it comes to using platforms where you can share knowledge with each other, where you can share case studies of customers with each other, where you can share best practices with each other, where you can share success of one team with another on doing something new. So you need to have either a physical format where people are coming together, let's say weekly, monthly, into a meeting room and thinking through, or when you're working across geographies where people are spread across the country, across the globe, you need to have a technology platform that brings them together, where they're able to ideate, where they're able to share, where they're able to think through, come up with pros and cons, and then deploy, see how it's working, what is working well, and how do you keep adapting. All of this requires the best of infrastructure, best of processes to build a collaborative team. To add a little bit more to the kind of collaborative teams that you would come up with is to build diversity in these teams. And I've seen that the best well-intended SMEs falter here, because the tendency is to say, I have a separate team, which is working on R&D, which is working on new product development, and but that's the team, that's the product team. Where are we hearing from the sales team? Where are we hearing from the logistics team? Where are we hearing from the inventory team? Where are we hearing from the factory team? Unless they're able to give you the inputs, your R&D team in silos will not be able to innovate with something. So it's very important when we build the innovation segment and we build these diverse groups, the collaboration has to be from people not just from cross functional teams, but also from different backgrounds. So we recommend that people have some really different mindset coming in, people of different age group. So if the age group of people who are working on the team is, let's say, your leadership team, you need to have people from the bottom of the pyramid of the organization who are youngies, geeks, non geeks, but they are the ones who are actually front ending. Bring them into the team. So, diversity can come with age, diversity can come with gender, diversity can come with geography. So, a lot of people bring in the exposure as a big factor and say that people who have the highest education, best education, go into these teams. But then what who are left behind are the tier 3, tier 4 kind of employees in the organization who have a very different thinking and mindset to bring in to talk about innovation. Their innovation can be as simple as improving customer experience on the phone, It can be as simple as, enhancing the delivery time of your product to the customer in a B2B segment. They can bring in the simplest of ideas to innovate on reducing cost on the shop floor when you're packing material from raw material, from semi-finished goods to the finished goods stage. These are places where we have seen some extremely innovative ideas come from the unexpected set of employees in the organization, and those innovations have significantly added value to the organization, both in terms of profitability and in terms of revenue. And sometimes we've also seen them come up with ideas which is completely disrupting the market and taking you to the next league of how you operate in the industry as a whole, and therefore you've gone ahead of competition. So diversity in the teams is extremely important for you to ensure within your organization. The next important point that I'd like to cover is around creative autonomy. This has repeatedly been an issue in small and medium businesses in India. And I'd say this for the reason that most of the owners are somewhere very controlling of the organization. So everything comes down and stops with the owner becoming the bottleneck. And again, it comes back to the mindset issue of the entrepreneur. No matter how many, well-employed people exist in the system, how much ever you invested in the right set of CIOs and CTOs, if we are not empowering them with the autonomy to take decisions on the go, to be able to, try out innovative methods and practices, if we are not giving them the autonomy to experiment, when will they fail and when will they do it right? So, for somebody to fail and succeed, it's very important to give them the autonomy, and therefore, the decision making power of the entrepreneur has to enhance to give the creative autonomy. I think this is one of the interesting aspects of innovation in IT culture, and which people keep doing. And I would request and I would actually urge more and more companies to invest their time and effort doing this, which is continuous market study. What you're essentially doing here is on the go, on the run, keeping an eye on the competition, keeping an eye on the industry trends, keeping an eye, keeping yourself abreast of the latest technology developments coming in the way, not just in your industry, but in allied industries as well. And this continuous know how of you as the promoter as well as your leadership teams goes a long way in giving you information well in advance as to what's coming your way to your enterprise. Many enterprises have actually fallen behind and subsequently perished because they did not invest their time and effort here. Most innovations actually come out from here because you know your competition is lacking somewhere and you want to get the cutting edge on the competition, and therefore you innovate for what is lacking in competition, as an example. Many innovations come out from here when you understand that the real problem that your customer is facing is X, and you are actually fixing Y through your product. And if you manage to fix X, then your X and Y will exponentially give you returns with the customer. These are things, these are inputs that will come out with a continuous market study, and you need to invest your effort with the diverse teams and collaborative teams that we spoke about in working with the market continually to give you the inputs so that the R&D team and the tech team and the manufacturing teams can collectively come up with solutions that can take you to the next edge in leveraging your innovations. And last but not the least, of course, is the creativity in leadership, which is you. It's all about you. So, how do you harness you being the example for your entire enterprise in fostering innovation? So, first and foremost, is the tone that you set in the leadership meetings, in your annual meetings, in your monthly meetings, in your review meetings, as often as you get to engage with the people. Second is to operate on strengths and skills of the team members. So essentially, identifying the right people who can be part of these collaborative joint efforts, and then giving them the comfort, an environment of comfort for them to share their ideas, where they feel comfortable that, yes, if I share this idea and it goes wrong, then I'm not going to be penalized. that comfort has to be given by you, because you need, if they don't feel comfortable about failing, they will never try. So giving them the chance to experiment is from the environment of comfort that you will share with them. Of course, all of this ideation has to fructify into systems and processes enabled by you, which will result with deployment of the innovation. So, providing them all of that is something that you have to continually invest in, which would mean money and also in terms of time. So, being a part of making it a part of the goal of the leadership team. So, I do not know how many enterprises here have done this, but I truly urge you to start putting these into the key result areas and objective of the business for the year, and therefore the goal sheets of the leadership teams. Every year, we recommend that enterprises add one innovation from each leader, and that drills down all the way in the leadership hierarchy to the functional teams, and the collaborative teams that are set have to be continuously on the go. So they have to work on this objective. So, with this, a continuous culture of improvement will be set. And on that note, I'd like to come to the concluding slide from my side, which is, when you nurture an innovation led culture, you're collectively understanding problems, you're collaboratively executing the innovation and celebrating failures, but of course, tracking the impact to your business growth with all of this. And this leads to increased employee engagement, enhanced teamwork, new and improved processes, definitely new products and services with new ways of thinking, and a constant pipeline of ideas that you have the advantage and you have the lever to deploy whenever you think they are appropriate for the market. So, there is a lot of food for thought that would come out of this, and I hope that you would benefit from these innovative culture that you will build within your organizations. With that, I'm open to question and answers.
Thank you so much, Shalini. It was indeed a very insightful presentation with a lot of takeaways, but I'm afraid we have overshot the time limit. So, there are two questions. I would request you to briefly answer them as there is another session which is coming up. So, the first question which we have come across is what are the principles and practices of responsible technology adoption in alignment with digital ethics, and how can organization instill these values in their IT culture and decision making processes?
Wow. So that's a long question. I'll try to pick up. I think when it comes to ethics, there is a lot that can be said. But I think the most important is the way you deal with the entire innovation and the data that goes behind it, right? So when you're driving any kind of technological advancement, the piece on data privacy, and there is a law also coming ahead, and you might have touched upon this in some other sessions. So people have to be aware of how they are dealing with it, and therefore whatever you do represents the ethics of the business. So I urge that you don't cross the line anywhere as businesses in trying to do something disruptive and different. Yeah.
Right. So, another audience question which we have got is how can small and medium sized businesses leverage tech advancements like AI to streamline processes, enhance efficiency while fostering a culture of innovation within their terms?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I can give you an example of how one can do this in their business, and small and medium businesses of varying kinds are doing this today. So, the simplest form of AI deployment is in factory-based manufacturing, where you have an assembly line. Enterprises are deploying camera based vision to detect quality of the products. So, whether you're manufacturing shoe or you're manufacturing jewelry on the line, you're able to see the detects on the go through camera vision. What that does is it gives you, it preempts you to be able to correct the error on the production line. It preempts you to take the decision and the action so that you're delivering higher quality products back to your customers. It not only enhances your brand reputation and your service delivery, but also it gives you data. It gives you the ability to say what's my production efficiency, and where are the errors that I need to rectify. So AI is able to generate that with the data that you feed in on the production line. So Industry 4.0 is a classic example of how AI and ML both are being continuously deployed by SMEs in the country.
Thank you so much, Shalini, for that very important piece of information. I am hopeful that everyone had a wonderful session, and we'll keep sharing more such informative workshops on accelerating sustainable business growth. Stay tuned. Thank you once again.
Thank you.